Hello, everybody. A day of extreme technical difficulties. Deepest apologies. First of all, big power outage, a massive delay. And second of all, the deck isn't loading on StreamYard. StreamYard has gone to crap, just like a lot of other things in the world, like your electric, your internet. Nothing is reliable anymore, but soon I will have, hopefully, solar, Powerwall, and Starlink. So I'll never have an excuse. Thank you, Clint, up there in Canada. Thank you, Shawnee, TNT Tesla. Let's get into the story and make this happen pretty fast because I am running a bit late. And again, as they say, poop happens. And here we are. This one is called What Happened This Week. And we're going to look at a whole bunch of interesting things, including some price predictions, which are kind of fun. Always fun. People like those. And a lot on AI because AI is impacting everything. So let's get into it. And of course, not financial advice. And thank you to be on Patreon too. First of all, let's look at what happened over the last 7 days versus melting fiat. And this is from the Crypto Compendium. And it's crazy. Sometimes I think, what is going on in the world? The two top performers over the last 7 days are Bonk, up nearly 60%, and a thing called Pengu, up nearly 50%. Crazy. I mean, there's so much real stuff happening in crypto, yet the meme coins are on fire. It's just, I don't know. And there's lots of other meme coins I'll talk about later in the video as well. It just makes no sense to me, being a logical guy. I can't figure out why things are literally bonkers. Anyway, moving on from that, if you look at the bottom on the right, like you got Bitcoin Cash, hype didn't do too well. And it shows you, by the way, I did a hype video this week. It shows you that my videos do not impact price at all, which is great. Great to see. Now, let's check in on the Bitcoin versus M2 global money supply. Global money supply did dip ever so slightly, but it's about to peak up again. Look at the little yellow hook there. But if Bitcoin continues to track the global M2 money supply, that could take us right now to $165,000. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I check in on this every single week because I find it fascinating. So if you do too, let me know. Now, this is kind of the fun story. Grok AI, it's a big part of our lives this day. Grok made some price predictions, but we made two. First of all, Grok, predict the price of Bitcoin over the next 10 years. Boom, you get the first column. This year, they predict 158,000, which is pretty wild considering 165 is the global M2. And I like to find global M2 mapping with the 112-day delay. I like to find confluence across different indicators. But 158K, who here would take that this year? That would be freaking awesome. Anyway, imagine that would be 10x from the bottom, which is $15,500. Huge. And the Grok 10-year goes out to 2.748 million. What is interesting is 2030 price of 775 is actually quite conservative considering where we are. There's also a whole theory that the bear markets are done. There'll now be perpetual demand for this asset because of its hardness, because of ETFs, because of treasuries, because of sovereigns, all that stuff. I wrote a big piece on that last night, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on Patreon. Anyway, could have been this morning. I don't know. It's all a blur. I've been up all night. Anyway, and then Grok refined for other data points such as ETF flows, taking into account price targets from ARK, taking into account money supply, taking into account debasement, all that type of stuff, is even higher. Higher this year, up to 175K, which is very close to this 175K, believe it or not, and nearly 4 million in 2035. You can take an average of those, get us to 166K. This year, a lot of analysts are talking about $200,000 Bitcoin this year, a ton of them. And next year, if there is no bear market, it could continue to creep on up. I think there will be drawdowns, but the question is what happens at the end of every year. We shall see. Anyway, a visual of this as well with the delta in between the two. The Grok refined is in red. The Grok 10-year basic prediction is in blue. The delta, the difference between the two, is in yellow. And the average is in green. You know, even if we got to say 10% of where this is, that would be $3.3 million in 10 years. pretty good. And by the way, time goes fast. 10 years will happen before we know it. So that was a piece of price prediction news. And then another one is Saifedean Ammous says, pro tip, if a Bitcoin is worth $200,000, do not sell it and buy dollars, because if Bitcoin is at $200,000, the dollar is very close to its grave. Everybody, does that frighten you? Frightens me too. And a big thank you as well. Renato, who you are, Crypto Katana, Blazo Happy, Avalanca, Sir Winston, Clancy, B-Man, Rusty Bot, and Piper. But there's a lot more to talk about. But that was a very interesting, cool perspective. And Saifedean knows what's up. And the question is, if you are going to sell your Bitcoin, you either sell it for dollars or you rotate it into something else. The question is there a faster horse? And the other thing that I do want to mention, and the point here is people always think of dollars as dollars. No, I always call every single video I make, I refer to dollars as a melting ice cube. Okay? It is really bad. Any currency, any fiat on the planet is bad. Okay? So he has a very valid point here. Moving on, this also happened this week. And the good news about this is a supposed long-standing Bitcoin whale had a big bag of Bitcoin, and they decided to sell it. Okay, they sold, I think it was 80,000 Bitcoin, worth about 9 billion this week. And the key part from Archie is Bitcoin is still just 4% below its all-time high. So there was no real blip or panic from this anymore because other players are consuming the Bitcoin very fast. So that was the other piece of good news. Now, a little bit of mixed bad news. And the question is, who do you trust more? Do you trust Nayib Bukele or do you trust the IMF? IMF does not like what El Salvador have done with Bitcoin. If everybody moves to a Bitcoin standard, the IMF business, the racket, is done for. So they claimed that El Salvador has not purchased any new Bitcoin since December 2024. Because Nayib Bukele said they're buying 1 Bitcoin a day. And despite, El Salvador also saying they're buying 1 a day. And also they put some, they cast some doubt on some failed projects like Shivo Pets Hospital and Shivo Wallet and Bitcoin mining and volcano bonds, et cetera, is all smoke and mirrors. But the question is, we'll get to the bottom of exactly what's going on here. I think I would trust Nayib Bukele much more than the European Central Bank or the IMF or any of the other banksters out there. Anyway, just sharing this news too. And Tether, stable coins exploded over the last, say, 6 months. And now Tether is dominating all stable coins. That's the big blue chunk there from DeFi Llama. Tether now runs 73% of all stablecoin supply. And they hit a new all-time high as well of $161 billion. Absolutely insane. And a lot of this is because of the law, the new law, the Genius Act. And per Bitcoin Archive, shout out to Sanjay as well, Tether plans to bring Tether, USDT, under the Genius Act and launch a new US-based stablecoin. Billions in fresh liquidity could soon flow into Bitcoin. By the way, everywhere we look, we just look and see all the liquidity that's coming in the direction of Bitcoin because everything else is going to zero. So all roads lead to Bitcoin. Now, that being said, alts did smoke Bitcoin over the last month. If you look at the alt season index on a monthly basis, we are in alt season already. We saw the signs. I predicted back in June that alt season was probably going to trigger in the second half, and it's happening a little bit faster, perhaps, than expected. We don't know if this can be sustained, but either way, alt season is smoking, and alts are smoking, and meme coins are smoking, and it's crazy. The good stuff that actually runs the whole of crypto isn't actually moving, which is very bizarre. But a couple of things we do need to talk about. First of all, back to stablecoins. They did hit a new all-time high, and Tron and Solana are number 1 and number 2. Remember, Tron mints all of the Tether, and Tether is growing fast. USDC now is primarily minted by Solana over the last 4 to 5 months. And what's interesting about this, though, is nearly $1 billion has disappeared in supply from Ethereum. I don't know why that happened, but I'll have to dig more into that too. Now, Finbold, which is a pretty conservative rag, they came out and they recommended everybody needs to have 2 cryptocurrencies in their retirement portfolio. This was not on my bingo card for a group like Finbold to come out and say this, but the 2 names that they did mention were, number one, Solana. They talked about Solana being very fast, very efficient, taking market share from Ethereum, etc. It's already done that, by the way. It's not taking market share; it's growing market share from new people coming to crypto. But the other one that they did mention is Hedera, HBAR, and they said that is quietly becoming the private blockchain solution for enterprise adoption. That's businesses. So we'll see. At the end of the day, there will be a winner takes most. Which one it is, I'm not sure. Hedera would not be on my shopping list, however. But anyway, it's good that they mentioned both. And talk about buzz time. What is everybody talking about? And the price action doesn't actually reflect this at all. But if you exclude Bitcoin from buzz time, this shows you exactly who is on the leaderboard. And shout out to curb.sol, who shared this as well. But 103.56K mentions. Much of this is on X, Twitter. Number 2, this is kind of funny. All the crypto in the world, right? And you have Doge being number 2, XRP number 3, and even things like Cardano number 4. Again, crazy, crazy time to be alive. None of this makes any sense, but moving on. This does, however, make some sense, but the pricing doesn't. This is DEX volume so far year to date, i.e. 2025. And the leader of all DEX volume by blockchain is Solana at 1.21 trillion. In second place is Binance, 761 billion. Third, Ethereum, 400 billion. And then Base, 261 billion. But even if you add all these as combined, nothing holds a candle to you know what. Anyway, and DeFi Dev are back to stacking. They took a little bit of a break off for the month of June and a little bit of early July, but now they're buying Solana again and hope to have 1 million Sol in their treasury real soon. And not only them, the Sol ETF, despite being a small one, there's the Rex Osprey, ticker SSK. His stacking has been pretty consistent, and now they've pulled in basically $93 million in 2 weeks, which isn't bad. It's a start. Again, it's a small asset, but there's 8 more of these ETFs to come. Maybe 9. Once they all come and they start marketing it, we should see much bigger flows. Now, this is a little bit of Sol news because this has impact for everything. And the development by the team is quite remarkable. I just want to share this. This comes from Syndica. They put together really, really good research. But one of the things that they showed is how the Agave 2.0 marker refers to the launch of Agave 2.0, and this is a major upgrade to Solana validator clients. 95% of all these validators now run the same version. But crazy is if they've nearly eliminated all the skips, which means every slot is utilized, no wasted capacity. And not only that, block time has fallen a lot, and finality from users as well has fallen a lot. And Alpenglow is coming to make it basically near instant finality. And this whole boost in throughput enables Solana to handle exponentially more transactions without any outages and supporting scalable applications like DEX exchanges. So even though the price action doesn't reflect all the good stuff that's done, what is sure is the development work behind the scenes is getting ready for the future. And they are future-proofing everything that's going on. And no chain will be as fast or as capable or as complete or with the most breadth of dApps than this one. That I can guarantee you. We have to wait for price. And in a mad world, a market expert predicts Cardano will outperform XRP, Ether, and Bitcoin in 2025. Again, when you look at the people that are these so-called market experts, I guarantee you they probably run Cardano staking pools like all the so-called Cardano experts. And just as a quick, when I saw that article, I said, you know what, let's run a little bit of numbers. So I go back to the SCP profiler dashboard, pull up one of the 100 dashboards, and you can quickly see here, this is the market cap divided by daily transactions. The biggest bar on this chart at nearly $800,000 of market cap per transaction is Cardano. You do not want a high number here. You want a low number. So you can see Solana is under $1,000. You have Ethereum at about 283,000. Polkadot, which is a dead chain, 373,000. XRP, 153,000. XRP even does a lot better than Cardano here, which is bizarre. Anyway, that's just a little bit of data. Do with it as you please. But if you look at all these different chains, the amount of market cap per transaction you calculate an average, it should be well under 20 grand, even just to be credible. But the fact that each transaction is $800,000 market cap makes it by far the most overvalued crypto out there. And that's just data. Don't shoot the messenger. Let's talk about stocks. Despite it being a weird week, it was another big AI week. If you look at this chart, all the stuff that's doing well is AI as usual. Tesla up 7.07%, Google 4.7%, Microsoft 2.3%, NVIDIA 5.31%. Apple doesn't do AI, so they don't do anything. And what else? Oracle, another big week, up 6%. Meta down 2%, 2.5%. We'll talk about those guys in a second. But first, a little bit of Tesla modeling. First of all, this is flying around the internet. Shout out to Nick Cruz. Tesla Model 3 long range gets 408 miles of range. Who has a gas car here that can do 408 miles of range on a single tank of gas or one single charge? So that is extremely interesting to see. And what's also interesting is the watt hours per mile. In my Cybertruck, I get about 330 watt hours per mile, but this long range car gets 184. But the Cybertruck is a lot bigger, a lot heavier, etc. But I do track all that. Now, shout out to Cern Basher, friend of the channel. Him and I have done a lot of modeling together. We will be doing another piece of modeling, but he just did a video with Herbert Ong, and he came out with some Tesla future share price predictions where he said himself, he is very, very conservative. Okay. So look at these conservative numbers. The price prediction for 2025 is $392. 2026, $575. And 2027, $1,455. But then it starts going exponential. 2028, 4,237. And $7,000 in 2029. And over 10,000 in 2030. For those of you who may remember, I made a video. Let me try to find myself here. Where am I? Too many windows open on this computer. Anyway, I can't show myself, but I did make a video way back. Here I am. I found myself way back when I made a video of 8 ways to $8,000, and I was laughed out of the room. Now, Cern Basher, I respect very much. He came out with this. Per his model, it is not $8,000 by 2030. It's over 10,000. And 2031, 15,500. And 2032, 20,600. Things go crazy after that. What's also interesting, per my old model from back in the day, these two approaching from very different methodologies, very different angles. This is my valuation model for Tesla. The numbers are almost identical, except my 2034 goes a little bit more exponential because of robots than his, but everything else is pretty much in line. In fact, his accelerates a little bit faster. So super exciting to see this. We will be modeling this again, and we're going to do what's called a super sandbag model, which means the bare minimum we can expect in the future. So be excited for that. I am. Thank you, Pipes. Thank you. Hail Acola. Hope I got that right. Now, let's talk about AI a little bit more. This is the AI leaderboard, and Grok is number 1 on the planet. Okay. It came out of obscurity 2 years ago, and now it's the best LLM on the world, and nobody comes close with humanity's final exam. HFE. That sounds very ominous, but that's actually a thing. Anyway, what I do want to point out here is a new upstart called AI Lab Upstage. They have a new model called Solar Pro 2. It's a 31 billion parameter model with incredibly impressive performance for its size. It basically has the intelligence of Claude 4 Sonnet in thinking mode and is priced very competitively. So shout out to the Koreans joining the fray. Between China, now South Korea, and the United States, they are the players that run AI, and AI is the most important revolution to ever hit mankind in the history of this planet. Get ready, everybody. I urge you all to get some exposure. But if you look at this too, you got different players that are falling behind. You look at Llama 4 and Llama 4 Scout absolutely sucking gas. They're not doing anything. And that's why Mark Zuckerberg has invested a ton of money in a new AI team. Fired the old Llama AI team, hired a whole bunch of new people from places like ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc. I think they have somebody from Apple as well, maybe somebody from Microsoft, I'm not sure. But what's crazy is this, I think there's 44 people on this list. They all earn between $10 million and $100 million, everybody. 75% of them hold PhDs, 70% are researchers, and over half of them are from China. Okay. 40% previously worked at OpenAI, 20% at DeepMind, and 15% from Scale AI. And 75% are first generation immigrants to the United States. But did I mention as well, they all earn between 10 million a year and $100 million a year? So who said there's no money to be made in AI? A lot of money to be made in AI. And finally, finishing with meme du jour, this was probably the funniest event so far of 2025. I don't know if it's one big crazy distraction, but this is a new Lego set. When I was a small boy, I played with Lego, and it's been a while. It's been probably 50 years since I played with Lego, but I look forward to this new set called My First Affair. But this whole thing has gone viral. It's incredible. I've never seen so much mind share sucked up by two people being caught on camera. Anyhow, ending on a funny note, thank you all for coming, my lovely people. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did delivering it. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat as well. Shout out to Sean D and TND. And yeah, Lego is hilarious and the affair thing is hilarious. Remember, be good to your people and don't cheat anybody in any way ever, my friends. Thank you all. See you all tomorrow for the live Q&A. Happy Sunday. Hope I got power still in as well. Ciao, everybody. Bye-bye.